Okay, councillors, we shall get started. It's 4 p.m, so I declare the August Ordinary Council meeting open. I welcome all our councillors today and staff and community members that are in the gallery, welcome, and anyone that is online watching us. Members of the public are advised that recommendations to council contained within this agenda can be subject to change. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Any statement or insinuation of approval regarding any planning or development application made during an ordinary council meeting is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. Council members and the community are reminded that should an exemption resolution be passed, this has the effect of making the decision to accept the officer's recommendation as stated in the agenda as the council's decision without change. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities, their cultures, and to elders past, present and emerging. Councillors, I put forth the procedural motion that Council suspend Standing Orders Part 8, Clause 8.5, members to indicate their intention to speak and to rise when speaking, to allow members to remain seated when speaking to improve the quality of the audio recording of the meeting. Do I have a seconder for that, Councillor Bromham? Let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 9-0. Thank you, councillors. Record of apologies and leave of absence is nil. We'll move to applications for leave of absence. Are there any applications for leave of absence? Councillor Morley?
Yes, from Thursday the 1st of October 2026 to Monday the 26th of October 2026 inclusive.
Thank you. Councillor Bromham to move that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McCarthy. Is there likely to be any discussion? We'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 9-0. Any others? Councillor Morley?
The second one.
Very good, thank you.
From Wednesday the 28th of October to Monday the 23rd of November 2026
inclusive. Thank you. Do I have a mover for that one? Councillor Holly, a seconder. Councillor McCarthy. We'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? That also is carried 9-0. Thank you, councillors. Are there any others? Are these councillors going on holidays or something? Councillor Bromham.
Yeah, I'll be going on holiday from the 19th of October to the 8th of November.
Inclusive?
Inclusive.
Okay, do I have a mover for Councillor Bromham? Councillor McCarthy, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Morley. We'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 9-0. Thank you. Are there any other leaves of absences, councillors? We're all staying here and working. No, that's lovely. Declarations of members and officers' personal interest. There is a number that are up on the screen. Do I have any others, councillors? All right, we'll go around the room. Councillor Coleman?
I can't quite see it there, but I did declare an audit risk and improvement one last time as well.
Yep, yours. I've got yours up there.
Okay,
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Are there any others? Councillor Dickinson?
Yeah, sorry, just confirming for the ARIC as well.
I think you're on there as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillor McCarthy?
This 12.3.1 and impartiality interest as well. I've been also lobbied.
Oh, for the retrospective. Okay. Thank you. Any others, councillors? Councillor Morley? Eric, yes? Oh, you're on there. You're on there? Yeah. Okay. Oh, we got Councillor McCarthy for 12.3.1. All good? Okay, questions by members of which due notice has been given is nil. Response to previous questions taken on notice. The responses are up on the screen. There was a question from Mrs. Ferguson, also from Mrs. Pedersen and Miss Whitehead. So the responses are up there on the screen. We'll now move into public question time, and we do have some members of the community. So I'll invite Mrs. Ferguson to come forward. Thank you, Mrs. Ferguson. If you could just state your name and your suburb, and we'll take your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Just looking at that screen, my questions that were taken on notice, I don't think are up there. They should. I thought that they were on the agenda.
They're on the agenda. Yeah, thanks, Mrs. Ferguson. On the agenda, we just didn't have them up on the screen, I think.
So they will be in the
Yes.
They'll
minutes.
be in
Thank
the
you.
minutes, Mrs. Ferguson, yeah.
Thank you. Sheila Ferguson, Australind. The previous CEO informed me that I must ask each time for my questions and background information to be recorded as I present them and not summarised as permitted by standing orders, and I now make that request. I will provide an electronic copy. My questions arise from the responses to my questions at the last council meeting, which are in today's agenda. I ask them because the length of question time and the number of questions allowed, which were not previously an issue, have become one over the last few months. Before it was changed by Shire officers following my questions at the last meeting, the Shire's 2025 information statement stated the allotted public question time during a council meeting is 20 minutes, and any member of the public attending a council meeting can ask up to 3 questions. These statements were not inconsistent with standing orders and the applicable legislation, as the response states. Standing orders and the regulations prescribe a minimum of 15 minutes for question time, and they do not place a limit on the number of questions that may be asked. For the statements to have appeared in the information statement, 20 minutes and 3 questions must have been approved by somebody at some time. The assumption must be that it was approved by resolution of council in accordance with standing orders and the regulations. My first question is, who approved that question time be allotted 20 minutes and that 3 questions be allowed? And if they were approved by council, should the matter have been placed before council before any change was made to the 2025 information booklet?
Through to the CEO, thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. Thanks for the question, Mrs. Ferguson. The information statement was incorrect, and there is discretion within the standing orders for the presiding member to be able to either extend public question time a further 15 minutes after the first 15 minutes, but generally the 15 minutes is correct, that's the minimum, but it can also be halted after the 15 minutes at the discretion of the presiding member.
Well, can you tell me how it came to be in the information booklet?
I can't, sorry, I'd have to take that on notice, but I'm not sure if there will actually be any
I would
information
appreciate it if there could be some history provided to that, because it could go back. It's never been an issue before, so it may be some time ago that council approved it, but I can't understand how it got in the information booklet if it wasn't. I can't understand how it got there, full stop.
No, and through the chair, I can't either, so if there is that information there, I'm happy to provide that, Mrs. Ferguson, but it may not be there.
So you will take my question on notice?
Yep.
Thank you. Standing orders state, where a member of the public provides written questions, then the presiding member may elect for the questions to be responded to as normal business correspondence. Because all council meetings are held in Harvey and the majority of the Shire's population live a 70-kilometre round trip away, many residents are unable to attend council meetings. If they submit questions in writing in advance and you treat them as normal business correspondence, They are deprived of the opportunity to have their questions and the response made public, and the community is deprived of the opportunity of knowing what issues others are concerned about. My second question is, at least while all council meetings are held in Harvey, which makes it difficult or impossible for many residents to attend, will council consider, if questions are submitted in writing in advance and there is no time left to read them out at the meeting, that they be included in the minutes of the meeting and the responses included in the agenda for the next council meeting, so that no one is denied the opportunity to have their questions and the responses on the public record?
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Ferguson, for your question. And there is a little bit of history around me reading out as the presiding member, because I'm cognizant of the fact that there is not the chamber operating at the moment down in Australind. So my intent around accommodating the questions that were coming specifically from residents from the southern end of the Shire was something that I took on, and unfortunately, most recently, that opportunity had been abused. So in order to try and manage the number of questions that were coming through and being generated, my intent was to revert back to the standing orders time of 15 minutes, and then taking those questions that weren't addressed in the forum of the council meeting to be addressed through the normal administrative process. It's unfortunate that that opportunity had been abused, and I'm now reflecting on how I'm going as the presiding member to move forward in dealing with questions. Ultimately, I'd love to be able to be in a position to accommodate every question that comes through, particularly from residents in the Australind area, whilst we don't have a chamber down in the southern end of the Shire. So I'll take your question on notice, and I'll reflect on how I can, as the presiding member, move forward to manage that situation.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm very concerned that, I'm in a very privileged position. I have the money and the time that I can come up here, although I don't enjoy coming up. So I almost feel if it's not allowed, that I have to advertise that I will come up on other people's behalf and ask them, because I think there's many things that people want on the public record, and that's the purpose of question time. So I appreciate very much if you would look into it.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ferguson. Alrighty. We have Paige to come forward. Paige Ray. Welcome, Paige.
Thank you for having me.
If you could just state your name and
sure.
your suburb. Thank you.
Sure. My name's Paige Ray and I'm Centennial Ave, Harvey. Thanks for having me today. The reason I've come in today is to get some clarification with regards to the Harvey pool. So my first question is, given that the Shire have decided to close the Harvey pool for the entire 2026-2027 season, pending the forensic investigations, can Council please explain what the decision-making process will be following this investigation, including what factors will be considered in determining the scope of works required to return the pool to operation, who's going to make this decision, and when the community can expect that decision to be made and any updates?
Thank you for your question, Paige, and I'll do my best to respond to that. But listen, there's a bit of history around the Harvey pool, as you know, and it's come to a position where we actually need to do that investigative work so that council can make a more informed decision moving forward on what works needs to be done. So once that investigation has been completed, council will get a report detailing what, if any, works need to be done and costs associated around those particular works. Now, my understanding is there is funding in the forward capital works and the budget to address potentially what we anticipate being the costs to address the issues with the pool. But yeah, it will be a council decision once we get that report, and we are in a more informed position to make that decision moving forward.
Sure, thank you. My second question is with regards to the community impact that this closure presents. So I think it's up on the screen, but what consideration has council given to the social and community impact of closing the Harvey pool for an entire summer, particularly for children, for families, for swimming lessons, for school activities, and for the residents who cannot readily travel to another aquatic facility? And on that, with those considerations, based on your earlier response, with it being a council decision, is there any scope for community feedback?
Paige, thank you for your question. It was really not an easy decision of council to close the pool, and really, and we do acknowledge the impact, particularly with the swimming club, swimming lessons and the like. So it's not a decision that's been made lightly by council. However, we understand that this investigation needs to be done. So, and the timing, unfortunately, it needs to be closed over that summer period to enable that investigation to be carried out. So, and of course, we need that report to make that decision moving forward in relation to what works needs to be done and funding for the pool. So, acknowledge the impact it's going to have on the community and all those, the children, the swimming lessons, the whole lot. And you can certainly make a submission. Please email us, and I know that we've had discussions with the Shire of Waroona to say that anticipate the numbers may increase for the usage of their pool, which they're very excited about, to have Harvey residents utilising their pool, but it doesn't take away the impact it's going to have by not having your local pool available. So I suppose that doesn't specifically answer your question, other than we acknowledge the impact it's going to have, but at the end of the day, if we don't do this investigation work now and come up with some solution moving forward, then the impact may be even more significant in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just the comment on towards that. I think we obviously understand that those scope of works and the investigations need to occur. I guess the level of sort of confusion is around how the community can receive the updates of the outcome of this investigation, and whether, based on their recommendations, whether there is scope for public feedback, given that, you know, it's a long-term community asset, and there is that fear that, you know, there's going to be a decision made that we haven't had direct input into.
Listen, the report will be a public report. I believe so. So, yeah, and and you of course can come to council when we make our deliberations around that report. Certainly, I know that our Director of Community Lifestyle has addressed the concerns that have come up through from the community in relation to what other options are available whilst the pool is closed. But certainly continue that conversation with us. CEO, I'm sure we'll keep the community updated through our social media platforms and the like on how it's progressing. And we'll try and we'll make it as public as we possibly can in relation to the outcomes of the investigation report and our decision-making process.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions, Paige. All right, are there any other questions from the gallery? No, thank you. Let me flick over the page. We will then move into our deputations. And can I... Oh, sorry, I do. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Stubbings, for keeping me on track here. I do have a couple of questions that were sent in from Ms Stone of Australind, so I'll read those out. Question 1 is, in November 2023, Council expressly advised that the purpose of maintaining both the Australind and Harvey Council chambers was to provide equitable access for residents and councillors across the geographically large shire, and that loss of either chamber would restrict residents to one location. Council nevertheless revoked its November resolution 4 months later and resolved to convert Australind, citing office accommodation needs while describing the relocation to Harvey as temporary. Given that the March report does not identify any assessment of the community access consequence of removing the Australind chamber, and the arrangement has now continued for more than 2 years while the Australind office expansion has yet to progress, please identify what assessment Council made of that community access consequence when it was made and where it is recorded. CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. So on the details of the assessment, we'll have to take of the community access consequence. We'll need to take that on notice. But with that too, I would like to acknowledge that the physical access is not currently completely equitable, and appreciate that. The arrangement is temporary, but due process takes time, unfortunately, and particularly acting within the Shire's resources. Details are expected to be presented to Council in the near future, so I don't have an exact date, but it's not too far away. And based off the decisions and outcomes from that information and projected timelines, it may be derived from when the Australian Council meetings can return.
Thank you, CEO. Question 2. The Lot 208 Harvey District Creative Arts Centre and Brunswick Bowling Club community leases expressly state that it is a condition of the lease that the leasee must allow other user groups with similar ideals to use the premises. Given Lot 208 board representatives, who are councillors, have advised Lot 208 is booked consistently every day and night until after Christmas, despite community evidence to the contrary, and the Shire has previously advised that Lot 208 controls access and the Shire cannot intervene, who is responsible for ensuring compliance with this mandatory lease condition? How is compliance monitored, and what action has the Shire taken when Lot 208 has refused access to a qualifying user group? CEO.
Thanks, Madam President. Under the lease, the responsibility for managing the facility, including handling bookings and determining access arrangements, rests with the lessee. These functions are not undertaken by the Shire. The Shire's role as lessor is limited to assessing whether the lessee is meeting its obligations under the lease. Accordingly, the Shire does not intervene in individual booking decisions unless there is evidence that the lessee is acting contrary to the requirements of the lease. And while the Shire will consider any complaint received and may seek information from the relevant parties, a complaint about a booking outcome does not of itself indicate a breach of the lease.
Thank you, CEO. Now, are there any further questions? No, thank you. We'll now move on to petitions, deputations and presentations. And can I invite Ms Wiley to come forward? Thank you. Ms Wiley is addressing the Council in relation to item 12.3.1, the retrospective application for development approval for the transport depot. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. Yes, my name is Jaleesa. This is Ian. We're both living in Harvey. Also, just want to say a little bit of grace, please. I don't do public speaking, so if I get a bit shaky or talk too quick, if you can just pull me up on it. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that we have spoken over the phone with councillors Coleman, Morley, and very briefly with councillors Dickinson, Bromham, and everything that we've spoken about with them is written within this deputation. We are the owners and occupants of Lot 135 Creegercap Avenue in Harvey, and bringing this forward to be able to represent us and say our piece, but also just to have a response and some clarifications to a previous deputation. It's also been brought to our attention that the person who made this deputation objecting the proposal does not have the authority from the surrounding residents to speak on their behalf. We'd like to make it known that at that point he is speaking on behalf of himself and his opinions only, unless he can gather proof of otherwise. We've moved to the area from Perth, eager to get back into farming life and be a part of a rural community again in your gorgeous town. In Perth, we had a separate yard to our house, and we were keen to get a house and land to be able to have home and business in one place. We were told over the phone before we bought the property by multiple Shire members multiple times that us having the trucks here would not be an issue, that the zoning was appropriate for the trucks. Unfortunately, these were just phone calls with verbal confirmation. Nothing was emailed. However, I don't say it lightly because I don't want to put myself through this situation. And if that were the case, we would not have bought the property here to begin with. So as you're all well aware, we are seeking approval to be able to store our equipment for our small family-owned and operated transport company. This includes the correct amount of, yes, 6 prime movers. However, 4 of them only are roadworthy and running. 2 of them are out of order. They are not roadworthy and they are collectors' trucks. 4 tandem dollies, 1 float dolly, so there's 5 in total, not 6. 12 trailers, this is inclusive of flat tops, drop decks and curtain siders. 1 50-tonne float and 1 2-tonne forklift. Nowhere have we said that we want to be or will be running double or triple road trains out of this yard, as yes, that is illegal. We would also like to put forth that what we are doing here is not technically a depot. If that's what council planning wants to name it for the storage purpose, then obviously that's fine, but I can't stress enough that that's not what this is. Us and Matt Cook are very different. We do not have access to fuel on site. We do not load and unload trailers of freight. We do not have a warehouse. We are not on a forklift all the time. We do not bring freight or goods that do not have anything to do with our farming or housing back here, and we are not 24/7 operative. We also do not have any intention of selling the property to a large business or anyone else in the future or at any time. We've brought this property in hopes of being able to have and raise a family here and eventually retire. Both of us grew up on large operative farms covering crops, sheep, cattle, horses and butchery, so it's not like we've just come in from the city with no idea on how to run a farm and deal with the land like what's been suggested. I would also like to clarify that when we say hard stand, we mean loose gravel sand mix set with a bobcat, not paving of any sorts like what was previously mentioned, and only in the proposed area, not the entire paddock. It can be easily removed if required, with the land being restored easily after the fact. The dust suppression action we have in place has not yet been used except for once when we laid the initial driveway, as it's been very wet, so the rain does that for us. However, there has been no dust that has travelled to surrounding properties because of the rain. In the warmer weather, though, we intend to use Dust It, which is a dust suppressant that features a neutral pH, non-corrosive makeup and biodegradable elements, meaning that it is completely safe for the soil, livestock, domestic animals, human and all flora, including fruits, vegetables and herbs, and fauna. If for whatever reason this product is able to be taken off with the soil along with the hard stand gravel sand mix and will not leave long-lasting damage to the remaining earth and soil. In terms of noise pollution, we have advised the Shire that our operating hours are from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and nothing outside of those hours. We had and continue to have the surrounding residents in mind that are elderly, have kids, etc. when we decided those hours. Our noise pollution is evidently less on average, if not the same, as other occupants who use their tractors and farming gear, as well as other equipment and vehicles such as buses, graders, rollers, telehandlers, etc., and trucks, line haul and livestock that run continuously up and down Cup Avenue, some still driving well into the nighttime. At most, we are no louder than anyone else who operates in and around the area. I'd also like to clarify that the number of weekly moves being 5 was an average amount, as the Shire member who asked us for a number wouldn't accept we go out on jobs when they come in. We can't give you an exact number even though it's not a lot. We are not primarily a local carting company, meaning we are not in and out multiple times a day, even when we are doing the Blue Moon local jobs. We mainly service companies and mines in the Pilbara and sometimes go interstate, and this means that you won't see some, if not all of our trucks for weeks and possibly months on end, with a minimum of at least 2 to 4 days per trip. In response to us ignoring explicit local government orders and operations continuing unauthorised, I don't know if you got it, but I have attached an email from a Shire member back from 6 months ago, February 2nd, 2026, that states that he has removed the cease land use requirement and that we are able to continue using the land as we were, as long as we're taking the right steps to get approved, which is what we're doing and what we've been trying to do since last year by calling ahead of purchase to ask about correct zoning and approval, which we were granted, and now since February of this year, and at no point were we ever operating outside of Shire knowledge. So I would just like to bring that specifically to your attention, that this, along with other points I've made and continue to make and correct, be verbatim what was said in last week's deputation is incorrect and misleading information that obviously we are happy to verify and make sure that you do have the correct information to base your decision on before making it. I'd also like to reiterate that the cease land use email was sent because we hadn't gotten approval, and fair enough, but that just backs our case more that we didn't know we needed to get approval specifically for having the trucks here, as again, we were verbally told by the Shire that this would not be an issue, that the zoning was correct, and that we had the go-ahead to do so, and the Shire has already approved a secondary driveway specifically for this reason. Touching on the topic of the bus and school category, we've spoken a few times with some Shire members who have had nothing but positive feedback to say in regards to us wanting to put a small bus shelter on our property at the secondary driveway for the kids to use to shelter from the elements and to have somewhere to wait for the bus safely and completely off the road. Having this shelter installed also allows parents and the bus to pull off the road completely when doing their drop-offs and pickups, as they're able to use that driveway area as they please. So far, none of our movements have coincided or impeded on with the school bus route or the pickup or drop-off hours. However, if that is something that is cause for concern, then we're more than happy to work with the Shire and school and to not operate on the road within those hours on school days. In relation to any concern about us not using the land for farming or agricultural purposes, we always had the intention of farming cattle, which is what we're currently doing now. We've got a mob of 12 steers, and we continue to buy and sell different herds. As you can see by the plan, I don't know if you've seen it, we have no intentions of using any more of the property for storage or equipment, and we have used the minimum amount of acreage as possible to be able to store our equipment, but also make sure that any livestock we have will get sufficient acreage to graze and exist. When we moved in, the grass was green and growing well. We had no cattle. We wanted to make sure that the fencings were secure. So the last few months have been quite wet and we've not had to use the irrigation. However, we have used it a few times now just to make sure everything is flowing. But I just wanted to touch base on that because it was brought up previously. We would also really like to get this approved so that we can finally fence off the yard to keep the cattle out of it and plant some trees along a buffer line around the yard. We have included that in our plan as well. We'll obviously approach a horticulturalist for this to make sure that the trees that we get, we want a mix of native and fruit trees, is compatible with the area and the soil, and this will also rule out any visual grievances and will also make the land more productive. Moving forward, we'll be planting clover seeds to irrigate and keep green over the warmer weathers, but also to improve the soil condition and feed production. Keeping the land productive and using it via agriculture is also a reason why we were looking here to buy. We knew that the weather is almost ideal, the soil is amazing for a bunch of different reasons, and the dam use is also a fantastic bonus. Farming here reminds us both of our upbringings, just on a smaller scale, and it's another reason why we were happy to get verbal approval by the council of us having the trucks here, as it's an all-in-one situation. In summation, we are just a small company who is trying to do the right thing by everyone, while also just existing and trying to live our lives by doing what we love. We are always buying local and supporting the local businesses before going anywhere else. We help out with our neighbours when they need a hand, and we've really adjusted well to Harvey as a town. We are happy being a small business and can promise that we have no intention of getting any bigger or to sell to a large company, and we will continue to use the remaining land for stock, grazing and trees. Any further claims that have been brought forth to you that I haven't covered, I highly suggest you request evidence of those claims before you make your decision. And if anyone has any questions or concerns, then please let us know, and we thank you for your time.
You did very well to get through all of that. Well done, Ms Wiley. Okay, councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Bromham.
Yeah, I noticed that you're not allowed to do any maintenance, heavy maintenance and things like that on the area. I just wondered how you manage hydrocarbons like refuelling and those types of things. They're a day-to-day business, activity.
Yeah, so you're talking general maintenance to heavy vehicles and trailers, etc., etc. So what we do is minor maintenance, so changing tyres, etc., etc. We may grease or service the truck, so which is obviously changing oils, etc., etc. Majority of our work is actually done by Merton Motors in Perth, Joe Merton, because there's actually not a heavy diesel mechanic here set up to do such a scope of the heavy vehicles. But we do have, when we do service, we've got all the spill kits, etc., that you need to service the vehicles, and waste disposal is obviously done out at the dump out there. So we've taken quite a few trips out there now to dispose of what we need to dispose of. So I don't know if that's all you need to know on that one, or
yeah, I just wondered about hydrocarbon spills. So you gravel service. How do we manage that?
Well, that's where we use our spill kits.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
when I'm servicing,
you got spill kits.
Yes, got spill kits. So when I service the truck, what happens is a big mat goes down underneath the truck, which catches everything, if anything is spilt out of the
I understand
truck.
that. Yeah. See. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much for that.
Yep.
Councillor Coleman.
Thank you. So if it's not a transport depot and your business is obviously largely off-site, what is it that you're doing? Are you couriering, or what do you do?
So what we do is obviously we live there. That's our property. That's where we store our equipment. Pretty well all it is this storage of our gear. Yep. So we'll bring our trucks, for example, tomorrow I'll have the truck heading out tomorrow, and he's actually going to South Australia. Okay. So he's loading out of Perth. He's leaving here empty. going to Perth, loading, and then he's going to South Australia. He'll be gone for 8 days, nearly 8 to 10 days on that one particular job. We don't load anything here. We don't transport anything here. I'd say 95% of our equipment or freight is collected in Perth itself, and then goes up into the Pilbara or goes over east. So nothing's actually transported on the trailers from pickup back to our place.
Unless
So
it has something to do with our house.
Yeah.
So it's mostly long haul stuff.
It is all
just,
long haul stuff.
and you're just providing the vehicles for it.
Correct. We don't have
Okay.
tippers, we don't have tankers, any of that sort of thing. All we do is we load out of Perth and we travel. This is just because we live there. This is our place, our primary residence, obviously, and this is where we park our stuff up.
Thank you.
Just out of ignorance, Blue Moon, local jobs. What is the Blue Moon, local jobs?
I was just meaning, I was just meaning because we don't do, we're not a local company, so we're not in and out of the area and the house as much. Like as Ian just said, we're loading up tomorrow to go out to South Australia, so that truck won't be here for 8 days to 10 days. So yeah, that's just what I mean. And like even when we are doing a local job, at most we are in and out of the property twice a day, and that's leaving and returning. So
I think unfortunately a lot of people have in their mind of the transport depot of thinking of someone with tippers, so doing gravel works, earthworks, etc., which the truck comes in and out 5 times a day, 10 trucks 5 times a day in and out. We don't do that. We load, we drive to Perth, we load, or Bunbury, wherever it may be, and we go north.
or even just thinking depot like between us and Matt Cook, like that's why I just made that reference. So obviously he's massive. We've only got the 4 trucks. So yeah, just I can understand that people seeing that we want to be called like a transport depot, which we've said that we're not, but I get for storage purposes, if that's what you want to call us, that's fine. But that's all it is. It's just for storage. So
Got to have somewhere to put it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, councillors? All right, I'll go to Councillor Dickinson first.
Yes, and thank you very much for your deputation. It's really good to have an explanation as well as what we've been presented with. In your paperwork, you've stated 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for operating hours.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes, sorry. For vehicle movements to be conducted in weekdays. In the officer's recommendation, it says 7 a.m. to 7 p.m, which is a bit of a variance. And is that really going to have much of an impact on your operations?
Are you talking about changing it from 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m, or is that just the reference that you guys received or what we've spoken to you verbally about?
I'm referring to the officer's recommendation.
So we don't have a copy of that, sorry.
Is 1J, the approved use shall be restricted to the operating hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. from Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a Sunday.
I don't think we've ever said that. We've stuck with the 6 till 6.
I don't think we've seen that document, sorry.
So
apologies.
that's the officer's recommendation.
I don't think
If
we've
we were
seen
to
that.
endorse the officer's recommendation, is that going to have a detrimental impact on your operation?
No, I think the only thing is, not that we really do anyway, is there might be a movement on a Sunday, but if that's not approved, then we just don't move the trucks on a Sunday. So, but yeah, those hours would be fine.
Yeah. The
Sorry.
big thing for us quickly on that is the reason we've just chosen the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is because there is a lot of elderly people in the area, and a lot of them do go to bed, and not so much to bed, but they do settle in quite early in the evening. So we're just trying to minimise that amount of noise, because most elderly people, be honest, they're all up at 5 o'clock in the morning anyway. So just trying to keep that to a reasonable time frame for people. That's all.
Councillor McCarthy.
Hiya, thanks for your deputation and clarifying all that. My question is regards to 4 prime movers with 12 trailers, and you're not living on a heavy haulage route. So I'm just wondering how you impose or propose to move the vehicles from the property if you're not on that route, and obviously is it 1 trailer at a time times 3 trailers each prime mover, or how are you proposing that transport area?
Yes, so we'll do the same thing. We abide by the NHVR rules and also main roads in Western Australia. So our route is single truck, so one prime mover and one trailer and a dolly on the behind it. So yes, so if we want to set up a, as you call a triple or 3 trailer setup or a road train setup with 2 trailers, so we'll take one trailer out and we go out to the highway. We drop one trailer there in the parking bays out there. There are a lot of parking areas and hook up yards. We come back, get the second trailer and then hook up as a road train out there and off we go. Hopefully that helps with that. And vice versa, if it's a 3 trailer setup, we'll take those 2 trailers straight to Perth, drop them in the appropriate hookup area there, and then have to drive all the way back and grab the final trailer and head up with that. So yeah, no, we don't pull in or out, and we haven't pulled in or out with larger vehicles than what the route is itself. So yeah.
Any other questions, councillors? All righty. Councillor Morley.
Yeah, thanks for your deputation, folks. Do you have a fuel contract with anybody
As in, what do you mean?
for your fuel supplies for your trucks?
Yeah, so I use OIR as my fuel supplier. So we have PIN codes we use at the fuel houses.
Okay. Do you have a washdown bay a proposed washdown bay for your depot?
We have nothing proposed at this point in time for a washdown bay, and we do not store any fuel, bar what is in the fuel tanks of the trucks themselves, on site.
Okay. It's just I noticed in one of an email that you sent that we do have plans to put a wash bay in, but we will be in contact with you when we plan to do that. What type of wash bay would we be talking about? To wash down trucks?
To wash down trucks and trailers.
And trailers?
Yes, just as you wash your car or your your camper van or something like that at home.
Yep. Okay. No, thank you.
At the moment, we do use bullet truck wash up in Perth if we're there, so fill out like an actual clean.
Yeah, but because obviously we need to get approval for this prior to moving forward with any further future plans. A wash bay, when we say a wash bay, what is just a concreted area, the size of a prime mover itself, which obviously all the water and catchment goes into a catchment tank, and then from there you remove the waste from there. So it's not actually into the drainage system or whatever else, but we haven't planned any of that. None of that's gone to proposal or anything like that because we need this section first.
And through the CEO to the director, would something like that come back is that something that would be approved under your delegation, or would that be something that would come back to council? It would come back to council. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Morley, you had a follow-up question? Yeah,
just one more question. Drainage around your property.
Yes.
Do you have any open drains on your property?
As in draining to the culverts outside?
Yep.
No, there's none.
And there's a drain to the north and a drain to the west of your property on the boundaries?
The back, so back fence, and then also the 8th Street, I believe it is. Along that fence line there's the drainage catchment system there.
And do you know where they ultimately wind up?
The Harvey catchment.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Bromham.
Yeah, I just wondered, what is the exact size of the area of the depot, or whatever they're going to call it?
I can tell you.
The hard standing area.
Yeah, so obviously we've got the 10-acre block. At the moment, it is that way by 80 metres, and then from the road where the driveway starts to the adjacent area is 115 metres.
That's including
that's including the driveway. So that's from the road where the driveway starts. Yeah.
Just enough room to turn around. Because that's all we've got there. So it'd be no different if we put a big shed up. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thanks.
How are we going, councillors? Any further questions? No, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for your deputation.
Thank you.
Are there any others from the gallery? No? Thank you. We'll move on to announcements by presiding member or CEO without discussion. CEO, do you have anything you wish to announce? Without discussion?
I would, Madam President, if that's okay. It gives me great pleasure to announce to everybody here today that Mr Shane Faber will be stepping into the role on a permanent basis as the Director of Infrastructure Services as of this week. So, Congratulations, Shane.
Well done, Mr Faber. Congratulations. And,
question without notice.
We'll buy him a tie, won't we?
I was just going to say, will a tie be provided?
I know that we have viewers that watch our YouTube that you'll pick us up if we're not wearing ties and the like. So, yeah, congratulations. Yes, I'm sure I'm going to get a message. But congratulations, Mr. Faber. We look forward to working with you as the director. Well done. Alrighty, I can't beat that. So we'll just move into confirmation of minutes. So, councillors, confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting held on Tuesday, the 28th of July. Can I have a mover for those? Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. A seconder, Councillor Holly. Likely to be any discussion? If not, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? They are carried. Thank you. 9-0. Moving on to receipt of minutes from the Behavioural Complaint Committee meeting that was held on Tuesday, the 4th of August 2026. Do I have a mover for those? Thank you. Councillor Hitchcock, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Dickinson. Likely to be any discussion? We'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. And the Bushfire Advisory Committee meeting held on Monday the 17th of August. Do I have a mover for those? Councillor Bromham, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Holly, thank you. Any discussion around those? Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment in relation to them, and I don't know if you've all had a look at the mitigation activity on the back of the report there. Really, really well done, and I just wanted to say that Caitlin Southgate has done a fantastic job for the Shire in relation to that. So I just wanted to give a shout out for that because it's a really good job. So thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bromham. Having said that, let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. And the last ones being the CEO Performance Review Committee, the minutes. Do I have a mover for those? Thank you. Councillor Carboni, a seconder. Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion? We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? They too are carried 9-0. Thank you, councillors. We'll move into the officers' reports. 12.1.1, which is the ARIC Deputy.
Madam Speaker, can I move that we bring item 12.3.1 forward for those in the gallery and for those watching, so in case they don't want to continue for the rest of the meeting.
Do I have a seconder for that one? Councillor Morley. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. So we'll bring item 12.3.1 forward. We have an officer's recommendation here. There was some additional information that was provided, councillors, in relation to some late submissions that were received. So there has been some additional information. But do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Thank you. Councillor Holly. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Carboni. Thank you. Councillor Holly, did you wish to speak? Councillor Carboni as the seconder.
Thanks, Madam President. Yeah, I will speak on this one. And look, I thank Ms Wiley and Mr Hines for their deputation today, as I do Mr Travers for his deputation last week. And as I said in an email to councillors earlier this week, that I've been quite torn on this one, on which way to go. And I can certainly understand Mr Travers' concerns with the use of intensive farmland in the Shire. But this is a matter that probably needs to be addressed by us with regards to the town planning scheme and what uses you can use on intensive farming land. And at the moment, the way it stands in our town planning scheme, well, obviously this is a use that can be used. Clearly, we passed one of these. I can't remember if it was last meeting or the meeting before, but it was exactly the same, practically, proposal. So it seems a bit unreasonable to put this through an added level of scrutiny. In the absence of an industrial area in Harvey, it's pretty hard for us to be pretty steadfast in this. And I know in a discussion this morning with the Director of Sustainable Development that we are looking into industrial land and where we can rezone and make it where we can put these sorts of businesses there. But as I argued in the city status debate, this area is changing as far as farming goes. Less than 25% of the area is irrigated now. Indeed, Brunswick, where I live, is surrounded by 50-acre lifestyle blocks that aren't irrigated anymore, where people live on it purely for their lifestyle. So whilst I understand the concern of people who've have long-standing farming tradition in the area and their passion to keep it as farmland, the area is changing. As councillors, we have to look at matters not based on emotion, but based on planning facts. And as we heard from Miss Edwards last week from the Planning Department, there is no reason to knock this back. It ticks all the boxes. So I just think that we're left with no choice. If we were to refuse this and went to SAT, and I know we've done this in the past when there's packed galleries and we listen to our community and it goes to SAT and comes back just as quick with a $20,000 lawyer bill, and we've got to reverse the decision. And that's what would happen, I feel, in this case. So I think we're left with no other choice but to approve this.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. Are there any speakers against? Councillor Morley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I truly feel for the applicants. I truly do. A couple of things cause me a little bit of concern. I do have to say that I have a foreshadowed motion should this particular motion not get through. I have really considered the application carefully, including the concerns raised by the adjoining landowners, and personally I'm not satisfied that this is an appropriate land use in this location. I acknowledge that a transport depot is capable of being considered as a discretionary use, and perhaps transport depot is not the appropriate word, and that is what has stimulated objections to this. However, I also acknowledge the importance of transport operators and local businesses to our agricultural community. However, being capable of approval does not mean that council is obliged to approve it. This proposal involves what I consider to be a significant collection of heavy transport equipment, including prime movers, trailers, dollies, float, forklift, operating within an established rural and agricultural locality. Whether or not the trucks are present, it's the actual operation of the depot, inverted commas. I place particular weight on the potential impact upon the neighbouring amenity. We've had some six submissions out of 10 were in objection to the development, with a great deal of investigation and subsequent information provided by those objectors. And in fact, we received some more today. The character of the locality, heavy vehicle access, road safety, and whether the scale and nature of this operation are compatible with the objectives of priority agricultural land is subjective. I'm also concerned that this application is retrospective, but would seem to have been given some tacit approval before these applicants purchased the property. That does concern me. I want to be careful, however, about that point. The fact that development or a land use is commenced without approval does not by itself determine whether or not we as council should subsequently approve or refuse it. As Councillor Carboni rightfully pointed out, we must always assess the applications fairly against exactly the same planning considerations that would have been applied had approval been sought beforehand. But equally, retrospective approval should never become an easier pathway to approval. There is a broader governance principle, in my opinion, involved here. From time to time, local governments are confronted with development or land uses that have commenced without the necessary approval, followed by an application asking council to retrospectively legitimise what's already occurred. In everyday language, I believe that creates the perception that it's easier to act first and seek forgiveness later. I do not believe council should encourage that perception. Therefore, in considering this application, I believe we should really ask ourselves a very simple question. If this land were not already being used in this manner, would we approve this proposal in this location on these planning merits today? For me, that's one of the appropriate tests. I'm not satisfied that the concerns regarding neighbouring amenity, rural character, vehicle activity and compatibility with priority agriculture setting have been sufficiently overcome. And this is certainly not a criticism of the applicants, and nor is it an opposition to a transport business. Councillor Carboni's rightfully pointed out, there aren't a lot of industrial areas in our town, in this town, but there is an industrial area up at Coorigga Cup Heights on the eastern side of South Western Highway, an established industrial area, what's more. If a particular development may not have warranted approval prospectively, the fact that it has already commenced should not make it more acceptable retrospectively. And I take into consideration Councillor Carboni's mention about the previous one, notwithstanding that, as I recall, that had existed previously and had been bought, and then the application put through to carry on that type of business at that location. That's just as a recollection. And sadly for the applicants, for those reasons, I can't support this application.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. So do you have your foreshadowed? Can we put that up on the screen just so councillors are aware of what? Okay. It's up on the screen. We've got it up there. Oh. There, it's on your screen too. Yeah, it's amazing. All right, speaker for the motion, Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. Like Councillor Carboni, I was in two minds with this, and I sincerely thank the applicants for coming in and clarifying a number of issues. We know that milk tankers and cattle trucks go up and down Coorigga Cup Road every day. They use the same method of operation. They'll drop a tanker out further, pick it up and become a B double and go on the highway. Happens every day. And yes, we did have a precedent set by Mr Versace more recently. That was well established before it came to council. And yes, I think council needs to stop or at least start advertising that we will no longer look at retrospective applications. However, in this case, the applicants feel that they have taken advice from staff. Perhaps it's naivety that they didn't get that in writing prior to starting their journey. But they wouldn't be the only ones that have been in that case from any shires right around Australia. So the fact that it's not a storage depot per se, that it is a parking place for trucks to then go and load up in Perth, probably Kewdale, and head off to parts unknown. We know that there are other people, businesses in Harvey Shire that do that on an ad hoc basis. They park them in the park next door or the laneway next door or even on their front lawns. So in this case, we have a couple of applicants who are trying very hard to do the right thing, perhaps a little late, but they are trying very hard to establish a business. And part of that business model is actually running their cattle on the rest of the land. So they are using it for agricultural purposes. So I think for a whole host of reasons, I think that we should support the application, certainly conditional on environmental grounds as stated, but I will be voting in favour of it for all of the reasons that I've just stated.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Any speaker against? Any speakers for? I'll speak for the motion in front of us in that, and I thank the deputations from last week and this week as well. And it's hard not to get caught up on the emotive side this particular issue. But council, we really need to assess this on the planning grounds, and staff have clearly indicated in their conditions that they've addressed just about every issue that has been raised through the submission process, that being the amenity, the drainage plan, stormwater management, noise, and we've looked at reducing the operating hours, the dust management, and the fact that this site is still being utilised, whether it be for grazing of cattle, it's still being utilised for that agricultural purpose. Unfortunately, and I don't like the fact that we're doing this retrospectively, but there are mitigating circumstances around that reason why it's come here today. But in short, I concur with the debating points that Councillor Carboni and Councillor Coleman have raised, and at the end of the day, we need to assess this purely on the planning grounds, and it ticks the boxes. So I too will be supporting the motion as it stands. Any speakers against? Any further speakers for? Okay, I'll go to Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you. I will be supporting this motion, and I would like to thank the proponents for their deputation today and for clarifying items of concern that had been raised. I'd also like to acknowledge the community members that have made submissions and have done deputations that have not supported this, because they have raised quite a few issues that officers have been able to address, and I believe they will be accommodated and be able to address in the recommendations and conditions that have been put forward by staff. It is zoned priority agricultural, but as we are all aware, the term or the definition of priority agriculture probably has changed an awful lot, especially in my lifetime. And there's, driving along that area now, there's not a lot of properties that could make a living out of priority agriculture. The size alone makes it extremely challenging, being only a 10-acre block. I believe that the mix of storing the transport vehicles as well as still maintaining livestock on the property does address the issue of still, adhering to agriculture. But we are in a situation where we don't have land available probably for vehicle depots to be established, and that's one of the reasons why they're having to encroach into the priority agricultural zones. If somebody was to buy this property in the future date, they could make the decision to revert back to pasture or put other cropping or trees in if that's what they desire. So this approval doesn't take away from that fact that agriculture can still occur here. So for those reasons alone, and if there has been a lot of work put into the commentary from officers in addressing the issues that have been raised, so I am confident to be able to endorse this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Any other speakers against? Speaker for, Councillor Bromham.
Thank you. I'll speak for the motion. And I'd like to thank you for the deputation as well. I'd like to thank you because you demonstrated good knowledge of the requirements of running your business. And I think that's a really great thing, to have some people come into town that are going to run a business successfully in relation to that. We have to make decisions on planning grounds, and we can't, even though I understand those people who were against this, and as was previously said, they've been helpful in a way because they've allowed staff to ensure we cover all those things like noise and also visual amenity. So I think that's important, and drainage. I speak for it because I think even though it's retrospective, I think it'll be a good industry for our town. It'll bring business to our town and to our local businesses. So from that point of view, I think we should be supportive of business coming to Harvey and support this town and its growth.
Any further speakers? Councillor Holly, right of reply as the mover.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm glad I didn't speak beforehand because I couldn't have summed it up any better than what my fellow members have done. But I think the application from this time last week, I've turned 180 degrees. I've taken out the emotion of other people and those sorts of things. Again, I thank you very much for your deputation today, and I thought you spoke very well to get it over the line. So yeah, there's my question. I will be voting for it, despite this time last week really not knowing the true facts until they were put across today. So yeah, I wish you luck with the vote.
Thank you. Noting that there is a foreshadowed motion should this one not get up, we're happy to put this one to the vote now. CEO? Yes, the process? Okay. Okay, councillors, all those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4. Against? Is Councillor Morley against? That is carried. 8-1. Thank you, councillors, for that debate, and well done. It's got across the line for you. So we'll move back to the agenda items as such. Let me go back to the beginning. Alrighty. Item 12. You're welcome to stay if you want to listen to the rest of the meeting, or you can go and celebrate. All right, councillors. Item 12.1.1, which is the AREC Deputy of the Presiding Member appointment clarification. Who would have thought one word would have changed the whole impact? But we've got an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Bromham, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion around this one, Councillor Bromham?
No, it's just one word.
Yeah, Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion, councillors? We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. We'll move now on to item 12.1.2, which is the Optus mobile lease in Leschenault. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one? Thank you, councillors. Councillor Morley, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Holly, thank you. Councillor Morley? Councillor Holly? Any discussion, councillors? We'll put this one to the vote then. All those in favour? This too's carried 9-0. Thank you. We'll move on to infrastructure services 12.2.1, which is the solar PV and the BESS installation at the LLC and the Shire of Harvey Work Depot. If there's any further questions around the tender, we'll need to go behind closed doors. If not, we have an officer's recommendation there. If I can have a mover for this one, Councillor McCarthy. A seconder, Councillor Dickinson. Thank you. Councillor McCarthy, did you wish to speak? Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion, councillors? We're happy to put this one to the vote then. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you, councillors. Very important one here, 12.2.2, which is the cleaning of the Shire public barbecues and our public toilets. Once again, if there's any questions in relation to the tender, we'll need to go behind closed doors. But we have an officer's recommendation here, Councillor Bromham, to move. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Carboni. Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, I think it's great to have cleaning contracts in place, providing we make sure they work correctly.
Thank you. Councillor Carboni, seconder? No, any discussion, councillors? No, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? This too is carried 9-0. Thank you, councillors. Sustainable development, we've already addressed item 12.3.1. We'll then move into corporate services, item 12.4.1, which is the financial hardship policy. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Holly, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Caboni. Councillor Holly, did you wish to speak? No, ma'am. Councillor Caboni? No. Likely to be any discussion, councillors? Other than I'm pleased to see that this has been reviewed and the changes that are made. Thank you to staff for doing that. Councillor Bromham.
Just a comment. I just want to thank staff for the great briefing we had last week.
Okay, noted. Thank you. We'll put this one to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. Moving along to 12.4.2, payments for the July 2026. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Coleman, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Hitchcock, thank you. Likely to be any discussion? Question, Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, I had a question. I just wondered when we have legal advice, would it be possible to provide what that legal advice was about?
CEO?
Thanks, Madam President. Depends on the legal advice, Councillor Bromham, so we can provide some confidential updates from time to time, but some of those might be legally privileged, so we'd have to be careful around that space. We'd have to review that and get back to you on that one. Yep.
Thank you.
So it's mostly yes.
Councillor Coleman? Question? Or you're speaking for it?
Yeah.
Okay. All of the above. All of the above.
I just wanted to thank staff for there were some minor amendments based on some queries last week, and that's been well noted by the public. So I just wanted to thank staff for that.
Done. All right. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That too is carried 9-0 with some positive feedback to staff. Thank you. Community and lifestyle is nil. We are moving right along. We will now move to the elected members' motions, of which previous notice has been given. We have a notice of motion here. I'm gathering it would be moved by Councillor Caboni. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bromham. Councillor Caboni.
Thank you, Madam President. Trading hours in the Harvey Shire have not been looked at for well over a decade. I think, from memory from the report, it was something like 14 years since trading hours have been looked at. Of course, in that time, especially in Australind or Trendale, the population's growth has grown exponentially in that time. It came to my attention recently that surrounding shires, Capel, Dardanup and Bunbury, have fully deregulated trading hours, and we don't. We have some form of restricted trading hours. And I guess the problem is I don't really know what we've got. And I'm pretty sure most of us around the table don't know what we've got and how it works and how it applies to different businesses. But it did come to my attention from Bunnings that there's, in the Bunnings that we have in Australind, that there's several product categories which are currently unavailable because of those restricted trading hours. So, for example, pet products, food, animal enclosures, pet bedding, you can't buy from Bunnings. Interior lighting, they can sell the light globes but not the lamps. Appliances, they can supply kitchens but not ovens, cooktops or washing machines. They can't supply clothing. Vacuum cleaners, they can supply the bags for the vacuum cleaners but can't supply the vacuum cleaners themselves. And with air conditioning units, they can sell fans but not air conditioners. So I think this sort of restriction on a business like this is stifling development in one of the fastest growing areas in Western Australia. And I think by a company not being, for example, to supply appliances like washing machines or white goods, is stopping the companies like the Good Guys or Harvey Norman from moving to Trendale. Because while they get away with it in Bunbury or whatever, it prevents them from, well, they don't have to come out to Australind. So I think competition needs to be opened up. And I don't want to see our shire putting hurdles in the way for businesses or new development to come to Australind. Now, what it means for the rest of the shire, I don't know in Harvey, and this is why we need a report to come back to council just to see where we are now and what this means going into the future. So I think as a council, this is core business for us. It's jobs in our shire. It's bringing business into the shire. We have this in our strategic documents about bringing businesses to the shire and that. If we're going to talk the talk, it's time to walk the walk. So that's why I put this forward. As we move along towards city status, I think this is just one of those things that we need to do to push this along as well and bring us into step with the surrounding shires. I'd like to thank the staff for the detailed reports they've done in the briefing documents last week and again in the addendum today. It's quite detailed if anyone wants to read it online. So that's why I put it forward, and it's an investigation. I guess in the first stage, I know the Shire staff have proposed a two-stage approach, which I entirely agree with, and I'd like to see us push forward with it.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. Councillor Bromham as the seconder.
Yeah, only to concur with what Councillor Carboni has said. I think it's so important to do a health check in relation to how business operates within the Shire so they can be competitive with other areas around us from neighbouring shires or cities. And I see it as part of the growth of our shire, and it can only be good for the community overall.
Councillor Coleman. Speaker for, against?
Yes, I concur with, well, Councillor Carboni said he concurs with the suggestions by staff of the two-stage approach. Yeah. My question is, should we perhaps redefine the motion to be very clear about that two-stage approach? Because I just checked and they're all there, but it doesn't actually state it the way that the suggestions by the staff to go forward. So I don't know how Councillor Carboni feels about that, but if you agree with what the staff have suggested, perhaps we could just rejig those same things a bit and make it very clear that it is a two-stage report. So we do the investigation and come back, and then depending on the cost, the way to proceed, which is on page 43.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman, for your
My
question. Yes, because if I can, I was going to foreshadow a notice of motion. Foreshadow a motion, basically because, firstly, I wanted to thank Councillor Carboni for bringing this to Council for consideration. I think it's very important. But the question of retail trading hours can have a significant impact on our local businesses and employees and consumers and the broader community. So I'm suggesting that we firstly need to engage with our local business community to ensure that any future decisions or actions that we determine as a council comes from a position of being informed and ensuring that those who may be affected have the opportunity to contribute to the discussion before we proceed. So I'm foreshadowing a motion that basically, without debating that particular motion, asks that we actually go out and do some initial engagement with local businesses to get the feedback, and then get a report, come back to council, and then we can make a decision moving forward whether it's got the support of local businesses and what that will actually mean for council moving forward. Yeah, so I won't debate my foreshadow, but that is it, basically. And that's why I cannot support Councillor Carboni's. I do with the intent of it, but the actions within his notice of motion. Question, Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, just a question. Community consultation can be tricky, as we know. My question is, why would we not look at the consultation requirements first as per the officer's suggestion, rather than go straight to community consultation when we know we can get better at doing that as we progress. So I'm just wondering why we wouldn't look at the consultation requirements and the methods and the costs of doing that first, as opposed to any foreshadowed motion that might come forward suggesting we do that first.
CEO, is that a question?
I'm not sure if it was a question or a
I,
statement.
at the end of the day, I don't want to complicate it, and I know where you're coming from, but part of the report also indicated that the state government has said that we need to go and do that community consultation with business before we even look at applying or forwarding an application. So at a minimum, we need to go out and do some form of consultation. Speaking to the CEO and our media team, they feel that they can do that within a 3-month period in-house. So that's probably the reason why I've put forward this foreshadowed without debating it. But CEO, did you want to add to that one?
Yes, thanks, Madam President. I think in this one, Councillor Coleman, I think from what you were going with your question there was more around the differences and the foreshadowed motion that the President is referring to is probably more of a straight into that initial consultation first, because should the council not go through after a short consultation process or a consultation process, all of these points here would probably not be necessary. So my understanding is that the foreshadowed motion would be one that would be, we go out to consultation first, and then you bring back that report for council to consider. Whereas this one would actually still step you through quite a lot of that process as well, and may be unnecessary. But I suppose that's for the council to decide.
It's probably confused everybody, but we are just debating Councillor Carboni's notice of motion at the moment, so that's what we're talking about. So now, Councillor Bromwell, you've already spoken. Do you have a question?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm looking at this and I'm going, number 2 says the consultation requirements and approval process is associated with any application to the state government. So I don't understand why we would be going down a different track.
Yeah. Did I turn myself off? Yeah. In the initial, in Councillor Carboni's notice of motion, I suppose it's just making it more of a staged approach. We'll go out, do the consultation, then come back and then determine that if there's not that support from local businesses, then will we proceed? That'll be a decision of council, but it's getting that benchmark and that feedback first, and then determining whether we're going to proceed with, if we need to proceed with everything else. A follow-up question, Councillor
Yeah, I just wondered why we wouldn't stay with the officer's recommendation in having the 2-phase approach, as Councillor Carboni has already agreed to. Why wouldn't we do that rather than put something out completely
this notice
different?
of motion isn't a 2-phased approach.
But Councillor Carboni has agreed to...
Well, then we need to make an amendment
make
to
an
this
amendment,
one.
maybe.
Yeah, because it's not a phased approach at the moment. The notice of motion as it stands, and correct me if I'm right or wrong, is for all of these processes to occur, which can be quite a workload on staff. So at the moment, we're saying let's do a staged approach. Let's go out and let's test the water first without debating you're putting me in a difficult situation of debating the foreshadowed, but it's just to go out, test the water. The local businesses may not support it for whatever reason. So therefore, let's get that identified first, and then if it comes back and it's the CEO can say we've got the support there, let's move on and do all these other actions that are in the notice of motion. Question, Councillor Coleman? Yes.
Thank you. So can I just ask the reasoning behind the officers' suggestions that we do this in the two-phase approach? Because the officers have suggested that we check out the legislative requirements. That can be done in-house. We check out the consultation requirements, the method and the cost associated with it. Yep, that can be done. Then we look at the cost associated with determining all of the things that go with that deregulation before we go out to community consultation so that they're aware of it. So that's the two-stage approach. So I'd just be interested to know why the officers suggested that if we now don't feel that that's worth doing it that way. Why would we go straight out to community consultation without knowing any of the background, the costs and everything else? We've had more recent times where we haven't had perhaps all the information and we've gone out for community consultation to our detriment. So I think the two-stage approach, I'd just like to be clarified why officers suggest that if we're not really going to follow it.
I was not saying we're not going to follow it because we're dealing with what's in front of us now. Yeah. If we want to make it a two-stage, I think it's getting really messy, but if we wanted to make it a two-staged approach, then we need to amend what Councillor Carboni's notice of motion is.
Would you agree to that?
Yeah, but we'll get the wording around that, noting that there's a foreshadowed motion sitting above all of this that says let's just go out and do the consultation first and let's get some feedback from businesses. So let's deal, I'm going to go to Councillor Carboni as it's his notice of motion and see if you're happy to change any of the intent.
Well, I'm happy to change it. I mean, all we're discussing is process here,
yes.
But I guess putting it into a question, wouldn't you consider 1, 2, 3 and 5 as a stage 1 approach and then 4 and 6 as a stage 2 approach? That's just looking at it off at the top of my head.
All right. If you're happy to do that, councillors, if you just give us 5 minutes and we'll see if we can get some wording wrapped around this one and come back with a...
1, 2, 3 and 5.
5.
Councillors, I'm going to adjourn the meeting just while we look at this and get the wording and then come back. So I'll adjourn it for 5 minutes and see how we go. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, everybody, and I apologise for that extension of the adjournment time. Councillors, I wish to withdraw my foreshadowed motion and put this one forward. In relation to what we have on the table, we need to deal with Councillor Carboni's current notice of motion first. I will then foreshadow this one, if we can get the spelling right on employment. Speak up, Ms Hazelhurst, which one?
That council requests rather than that.
Oh, the council, yes. Alrighty, does that make sense, councillors, where we're at? So, we have Councillor Carboni's notice of motion in front of us. There was some discussion around the staged approach, so we've gone to the officer's recommendation in the report, asking in the foreshadow that the CEO looks at these particular issues, brings a report back, and then council will give that further consideration. But Councillor Carboni, his notice of motion is still active on the table. So is there any further discussion in relation to Councillor Carboni's current notice of motion? Are you got a question?
Yes, can we just withdraw it?
It's been moved and seconded, so it's live on the table for discussion. Yeah. All right. So, Councillor Carboni, if there's no other further discussion, your right of reply in relation to your notice of motion.
Thank you, Madam President. Thanks everyone for their patience. Look, I think, as I said before, we're only arguing about process here. And if this is the process that the foreshadowed motion is the way to move this forward, well, then I'm happy with that. So it's not every day in this chamber that I move a motion and now ask that you vote against it. But in this case I will, and look forward to the foreshadowed motion. The only thing in the foreshadowed motion that I see that's not there is if we could address the current arrangements, what the current arrangements are. And
we'll get to that one if this one lapses.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank
you.
You.
It's a strange day in Shire Council politics.
Yes, there is. All right, having said that, thank you, Councillor Carboni. Let's put this one to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Against? The notice of motion is lost. We will move to the foreshadowed. which I'm happy to move. If there's a seconder, councillor Carboni, thank you. I think we've spoken to it, but councillor Carboni, you want to make a slight amendment to the foreshadowed?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, if you accept the wording, just words to the effect that we get to see what the current arrangement is and why that was put in place in the first place. Yeah.
Okay. Yep, we'll get that added in, please. I'm happy for that to go in.
Just as that's getting worked on, can I just clarify? So would you see that, councillor Carboni, as another dot point that says, yeah. So if we put that as another dot point, Madam President, as the mover of that motion, if you're comfortable with that as an amendment and you're comfortable with that, then we can put that in as just an amendment. Yep. Okay.
We'll just get that wording right.
President Campbell. Okay. So I'm going to second councillor Carboni. With the new wording that we've just practiced, the wording that you put through as a foreshadowing. Correct, and then just then there's been an agreement that we adjust an amendment to that wording to include an dot point.
So it's basically that number 3. That there.
Yes.
Currently applying. Yes. I'm assuming.
It's okay. It's just some formatting.
Councillor Carboni, would just check that you're happy with that wording.
So just to query on that one, councillor Carboni, you definitely also, you wanted the current arrangements, but also the comparison with the neighbouring local governments as well?
No, just what our current arrangements
are.
Okay.
Yep, that's great. All right, I think that's up on the screen there for you now.
How are we going, councillors?
Just the history of why the current arrangements are in place. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Okay, councillors. So happy to talk briefly to it. I think this now lines up with the staged approach that was preferred by staff, but certainly there is enough time for a report to come back to us in October, addressing those points for us, and then we can move forward on a decision whether we wish to proceed or not. And part of that next stage may include a consultation process with local businesses and the like. And it allows us to have all that information to go out to local businesses if we do go down that path of community consultation. Once again, as the mover of this one, I just want to acknowledge Councillor Carboni for bringing it forward. It's a great strategic decision for council, and it's good that we are looking at moving these sort of issues forward. Councillor Carboni, did you wish to speak as the seconder? No. Is there any other discussion, councillors? I see some people frown. So, Councillor Coleman?
Yeah, I was just looking at... Oh.
It's off the page.
Yeah, it's coming off the page, sorry.
That's all right. I just... Okay, looks like you're addressing...
All good? There's formatting issues? Yeah.
Can't see you again.
So I can read it out. How does that... Councillors happy for me to read out? Yeah. It's clear? Okay then, I won't read it out. Any further discussion? We want to get this one right, councillors. So is there any further discussion around this? Happy with the process moving forward? Alrighty. Okay, we'll put this one to the vote then. All those in favour? This is carried 9-0. Thank you, and thank you staff for working through that.
Thanks for your patience.
For us. Thank you. All right, we shall now move on to notice of motion for the following meeting is nil at this stage. Reports of members. We have mine and Councillor Coleman, and I know that Councillor Dickinson has submitted something in. Is there anything else, councillors? Opportunity to say anything? No? All good? New business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of meeting is nil. Matters behind closed doors is nil. Oops-a-daisy. So being no more further business other than announcing it's Councillor Dickinson's birthday tomorrow, so she's 21 with a little bit of GST, I declare